Some pretty fascinating stuff happening on the geopolitical front that's not really getting much attention because of all the Hunter Biden crap, and we'll get into that later. But I want to talk a little bit about Donald Trump and his interview with Sean Hannity, what he said about Xi Jinping. And I also want to talk a little bit about Kissinger, who is in China meeting with Xi Jinping. Now, Trump in his interview said this to Sean Hannity. He said, think of President Xi. Central casting, brilliant guy, you know. When I say brilliant, everyone says, oh, that's terrible. Well, he runs 1.4 billion people with an iron fist. Smart, brilliant, everything perfect. There's nobody in Hollywood like this guy. Yeah, I do think that it takes I guess you want to call it a sign of intelligence, I guess, to have that type of control over your populace. But I would disagree with Donald Trump in actually understanding just the mindset of the Chinese people and the psyche. And they're an extremely patriotic bunch there. And I would highly recommend people start doing their homework on this country, because I'm getting sick and tired of watching on all of these news networks, all of this. I mean, you got all the hawks out there, left, right, all over the place. It's almost like a foregone conclusion that they're pushing out that we're going to be going to war with this country. And I can't stand that. I've seen this happen too many times in my lifetime, where the media gets together with the powers that be of government and shoves a war down our frickin' throats. It is completely and utterly unnecessary. And I gotta be honest with you, I don't think China has the desire at all to go to war. We've talked about the economic situation for a long time in China. And again, we were told, conventional wisdom, we were being told on a regular basis, oh, this economy's going like gangbusters and everything is going to be awesome and it's the future and they're going to have a bigger economy than the United States. And I'm like, what? I say they got 1.4 billion people. What is their GDP per capita? It's nowhere even close to ours here in this country. Not even in the same ballpark. They don't even spend it nearly in the same ballpark that we do in our military, for crying out loud. Yet the drums, they got to keep praying this stuff on. I got to have this, to keep beating those drums, and they're going to invade Taiwan, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do that. What? I was reading about this past week. The Chinese got involved in the Korean War. If you remember, MacArthur wanted to push on all the way to the Chinese border in North Korea, and China got scared. Then he got taken out. Eisenhower eventually removed MacArthur and that because he didn't want to follow through. Anyway, it was interesting is that the Chinese decision at that point in time to get involved took their attention away from complete reunification of China, which they had done on the mainland, but they were going to start focusing on Taiwan, and it diverted their attention from that. And then, they never ended up following suit. I don't know what's going to happen with Taiwan. I hope there isn't a war. But let me tell you this. And again, these are facts. These are facts. The Taiwanese people don't want to fight. There's been, you go there, extensive interviews with people there. They talk about how godforsaken awful their military service is. They spend most of their time picking up garbage. They do little to no training whatsoever. And you speak to people on the streets, and they would rather have China take the place over than fight. This is not Ukraine, Russia, okay? It's completely different. No, would they rather not have China? Absolutely. But do you see the Taiwanese actually saying, hey, you know what? We're gonna really battle back on this? I don't. And the polling that's been done, the interviewing that's been done, people on the ground will tell you the same darn thing. Anyway, neither here nor there. Put that aside. Henry Kissinger, who was obviously heavily involved in opening up China under the Nixon administration. Again, it was a very, very smart thing that Nixon did. And you got to take a look at, again, this is a country, if you got to study their history for periods of time, hundreds of years, they would completely insular, closed off to the entire world, shut it down. Japan was like that as well. But anyway, he met with China's defense minister, Li Shangfu, who's, I guess Li is banned from coming to the United States. They wanted to have him there. They brought him there basically as a private citizen, not on behalf of the U.S. government. Kissinger met with Xi Jinping, expressing hope that stable relations with Washington can be restored. U.S. relations have recently hit a low point amid increasing targeted tit-for-tat export curbs, especially related to tech trade, and a spiral that goes back to the spy balloon episode that took place. Kissinger was hailed as a friend of China, and he reportedly encouraged cooperation. Positive message, much like Janet Yellen presented over there. The United States and China should eliminate misunderstandings, coexist peacefully, and avoid confrontation. History and practice have continually proved that neither the United States nor China can afford to treat each other as an adversary. And again, this is the line I would take. I guess maybe it doesn't sell with candidates in the media that much, is that, we want to compete. We want to compete. We want to go toe to toe with China because you know what? It's going to make China better and it's going to make us better. That should be the attitude. In the same way, you want to see a great game. I'll bring up sport. Let's do college football. You want to see a great game when, Alabama is playing Florida, SEC football. Okay. But both of those teams, even though they compete against one another, challenge one another, they make each other better and they need one another. Right? There need to be, you got to have competition. There needs to be some sort of, we need to coexist in this world. And again, I referring to Kissinger's role as a foreign ministry role in initiating China-U.S. relations while serving as national security advisor during the Nixon administration, Li Wang said played an irreplaceable role in enhancing mutual understanding between the two countries. The U.S. policy toward China requires a diplomatic wisdom like that of Kissinger and the political courage like Nixon's. Chinese president actually said, Xi, China and the United States are once again at a crossroads of where to go, and the two sides need to make new decisions. Looking into the future, China and the United States can achieve joint success and prosperity. Again, isn't that what we want? Again, I get it. Wall Street Journal came down hard on Trump's comments today about him being a real smart guy. Like I said, I disagree with the Wall Street Journal, and they're pointing out, human rights violations, these various different things. But, they have a short memory because, they have a short memory. Wall Street Journal has a short memory with certain countries that have horrible human rights records as well. Again, it is a different culture. It is a completely different culture. And one of the things, and I'm reading a lot, I'm studying Kissinger quite a bit. He's got we've talked about this here on the podcast, his Westphalian principles in regards to balance. One of the mistakes that we've made, in my opinion, okay, over the past, as far as foreign policy is concerned, you can go all the way back. We'll go back to Woodrow Wilson, okay, is this idea, and then again, various different presidents have had, in particular, George W. Bush, thinking that he could just go into Afghanistan and places and all of a sudden change the culture that has been completely, warring tribes for, as long as the eye can see, that you're going to have never had a stable government in that place ever. Hasn't worked out. Same concept that they had with Vietnam as well. We're going to just put this in and it's just going to work. It doesn't work that way. Different place, different time, different culture, long history. A much longer history than we've had. And again, we need to get our arms around that. Again, it's just the fact that you can't expect we're going to plant a flag or whatever it may be and expect everybody to see things the way that we see things. And that's okay. That's okay. And this is where it's always, I use that concept to try to the leading by example, if you will. You want to lead by example. You wanted, when I coach kids at practices, I'm doing the conditioning with them. I'm doing the drills with the kids. Okay. I'm doing everything. We need to lead by example. We need to show, okay, the whole shining city on the hill concept that Reagan, actually, I think it goes past Reagan. I think it goes back to Jefferson, who talked about that. But then Reagan used it as well in a very eloquent fashion. It is setting an example to the rest of the world, saying, wow, look at them. Look at how they're doing things. Maybe we want to be more like them. And that was integral to the breakup of the Iron Curtain, Soviet Union, in those Eastern Bloc countries. And I've told this story before. As you talked about Gorbachev trying to initiate change, and it was just going to go completely downhill when he tried to do that. You had to control that type of an economy with an iron fist, and this is why I talk about China. I've been talking about China for years. Everybody says communist China, communist China. It's not flipping communist, okay? It drives me nuts. The Communist Party runs the country, but correct me if I'm wrong, okay? They have Ferrari dealerships in China. No Ferrari dealerships in Cuba. No Ferrari dealerships in North Korea. Wasn't any Ferrari dealerships in the Soviet Union either, were there? People have wealth, okay? Some people make more than others. It's not pure communism. You have a communist party. It's command and control capitalism, which ultimately is destined to fail. It's not going to work. And I made this point again and again and again here. Even when it comes to what we're trying to do in this country, what Biden is trying to do, Bidenomics, command and control out of Washington, D.C., it doesn't work. It fails every single time. I think Xi Jinping is starting to see it. Okay, this is probably a little bit more of the reach that he's having at this point in time. He's reaching out here to the United States, making overtures. Take his hand. Okay, I'm going to shake your hand, try to, okay, let's try to fix this the right way. And I would follow, and I don't always agree with Henry Kissinger and some of the things that he's done and put forward, but this, I think he's spot on. WatchDog on WallStreet.com.